Hey, it's Mazzy and welcome back. I want to talk about the blues today, one of the great reissue, a series that seems to not getting enough love. At least I don't hear people talk about these records that much. People in the know about the great Bluesville series from Kraft. Now, I want to talk about a selection of records I have and the revitalization of the Bluesville label about year and a half ago, I think, early in 2024. It's kind of runs parallel with Kraft's OJC series, the original jazz classics. And remember, both the OJCs and the OBCs, the original blues classics, were reissued in the 1980s as sort of a budget label. They were like $1 or $2 less than normal list price of records. And they consistently put out a great array, a wide variety of blues and jazz records. So I want to, give a good shout out to Kraft and OJCs and the Bluesvilles. I'll do some OJCs in another video. But I want to talk about these because I think they need more of you learning about it, knowing about it. Now, of these records I'm showing, they're not all Bluesville. Some are Kraft reissues. Throughout the last few years, Kraft has been putting out anniversary issues, mono or stereo, depending on the record, anniversary issues, special things. But they're in the Kraft imprint, but not all labeled as Bluesville records, and I want to talk about that. But this is a genre, and this is the true, like jazz, American genre. And obviously during the folk revival in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, a lot of the folk artists, the whole village scene, the Greenwich Village scene, from Bob Dylan to Odetta to just everyone, all the great. Joan Baez would cover a lot of these type of songs. And of course, my generation were introduced, we had a pull from these young English bands in the 1960s, whether it's the Stones, the Yardbird, Cream, Fleetwood Mac, really covering a lot of those things. But in my area growing up in San Francisco, the Jefferson Airplane, the Grateful Dead, especially Jorma Kaukonen and Jack Cassidy, the Jefferson Airplane, and of course Jerry Garcia and Pigpen from the Grateful Dead as well. So I'm going to show these records. I don't have all of them. Now, just to let you know, about half of these I've bought. I'm in on this series, but I did get promos, and I'm not distinguishing which ones are which because it doesn't really matter. It's about the music, stupid. Now, Bluesville started in 1959. They were a label, an area put out by Prestige Records, and what's great about them, they covered a bunch of labels with these Bluesville. It's happening now with Kraft. They're putting out blues records from Prestige, from VJ Records, from Riverside, from Vanguard, Stax, and Rounder. So it's some of the greatest blues catalog, American blues catalog, anywhere, and Kraft has it. And they're doing an excellent job. Most of them have tipped-on jackets. Now, here's what's also good about the Bluesville series. Collaboration-wise, they're hooked up with Acoustic Sounds and Chad Kassem. And those of you who follow and know about Chad, he is really into the blues and that whole sound. So he is a good partner for these. And he's pressing at QRP in Salina, Kansas. And it's a partnership with Acoustic Sounds, Analog Productions, I should say, and Kraft Records. And these are excellent recordings and excellent releases. I think they're in the mid $30 range or so. I'm going to go through them and just give you a little taste of what some of these are about. And these are all cut by Matt Luthens at the Mastering Lab. He does these, I think he does the entire series, and they all have the sort of obligatory obies. But what I find great about this is a lot of these records and these reissues, it's hard to kind of figure out what's what, and so having this gives you a little mini bio, and I really appreciate that. These slip off, they don't stay on, so I just slip them inside. If you're worried about keeping them fresh and clean, just stick them inside the friggin' jacket. But beautifully printed, beautifully pressed. I've had no issues with any of these. Now, this is Buddy Guy. Literally, that's the name of the album. This is a fantastic in-person performance recorded live. This is at the New Orleans house in Berkeley. If you know that first live Hot Tuna record on Grunt Records from Jefferson Airplane offshoot that was recorded at the New Orleans house, and this is the same place. This is an electric, kick-ass set, 1968, very Chicago blues. The same year, the album that came out is Buddy Guy, Man, and the Blues, and that's this one. Now, this is not a Bluesville. This is a Kraft record that came out several years ago, a reissue, and this is that time in the 1967, 68, 69 period where Bill Graham in San Francisco was bringing these blues artists and putting on bills at the Fillmore and the Fillmore West in Winterland and mixing them with all these younger bands that really kind of got hooked into the blues because of these artists. And of course, you can see in this case, this was, I think this is originally on Vanguard Records. Look at that kind of psychedelic type thing. Now, it's not psychedelic music, but a lot of the bands that were playing, those psychedelic 60s bands, were incorporating the blues quite a bit. And this is an excellent record. Either way, these are good. This is probably a hotter, on fire performance. The live one that just came out. But if this is still available, I don't know if they're going to do this. Is not really part of the Bluesville series, but it's part of that label thing. So it's in the family. And right now we're in this historic time of reissues of jazz and blues and even rock. But instead of buying that 5th copy of Rumors, go buy some blues records. Go buy some Bluesville's records, because these are excellent. Now, this is one that just came out, too. This is one that I was not familiar with, and this is sort of an underdog, interesting thing. This is Scrappy Blackwell's Mr. Scrappy's Blues, and this is sort of the Piedmont style of blues. It's got a really kind of staccato, finger-picking, almost like Scott Joplin-esque thing, where it's a little rigid, but really, really kind of cool, and he's singing on this as well. This is recorded in 1961. Now, a lot of these players, if you really dive into the history, which I'm not doing here, but if you do dive into history, a lot of these blues players were playing from the 30s and maybe into the 40s and on, and some as early as the 20s, and they kind of got lost in time, got lost in history, maybe made a few recordings back then, and then were rediscovered by archivists, the blues archivists, the roaming around America doing the people like Sam Charters, who would later kind of start producing rock and roll. He was producing Come to Join the Fish for Vanguard Records, so he's entrenched in this too, and of course all the field recording periods as well. One of my favorites I think it's one of the early of the reissues last year of Bluesville, and I remember buying this because I love this artist and this record, and this is Skip James, Today. Now, this is a 1966 recording. Let's get rid of these OBs so you can see this full-on shot. Those of you, like me, who were into rock and roll and all that British invasion stuff and the British blues artists will know that Fresh Cream album that came out in December of 1966. One of the great songs, and my garage band covered it, was I'm So Glad. I didn't know it was an original Eric Clapton or Jack Bruce song, but they take the song that he wrote that's on this record, final track on this record, very short, I wish it was longer, and Cream turns it inside out, rocks it up, obviously. This is almost all acoustic guitar. There's a couple where he plays piano, and one track has a bass player on it, but it's pretty sparse and beautiful. And Skip James has this kind of high tenor vocal that is it just gets to you. Think of those of you who are more on the rock and roll side of blues. Think Canned Heat, going up the country. That's the voice. Skip James did it first. Now, he recorded that song originally in the 1930s, I'm So Glad. But in 1966, for Vanguard Records, this came out. So it's pretty quickly that this came out, unless Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce heard that original recording that he did in the 30s, which is possible, I guess. This is the time, and this is an excellent sounding record. And again, Kraft and Bluesville, this series, and QRP are doing a wonderful job with these records. They all have the original liner notes. What's nice about it too, there's no barcodes. I guess they're on the OB, so it kind of makes it even more special. Not against barcodes, but take away the artistic intent of the cover artwork. But I've been reading all these liner notes as I peruse these records. And this is amongst my favorite, but this is one of the early ones from last year that came out. Another one that came out several months ago, which I showcased on another video, but I have to include it in this overview of Bluesville and craft blues reissues, is Mississippi John Hurt. Now, I am a big fan of the country blues. Now, you could get in a whole dissertation of the country blues and Chicago blues and the Delta blues, all the different blues, like rock and roll. There's so many kind of subgenres. I kind of, depending on the mood, I like the Chicago electric, that verge on psychedelic stuff, because the bands and they were mixing with in the 60s when they came back and were rediscovered by a lot of these white audiences and rock bands. But also John Hurt was discovered and rediscovered too by, again, Jerry Garcia and Jefferson Airplane and a lot of great people. But this is a great record. He's got this kind of country voice, and he does one thing about coffee blues, talking about he wants his Maxwell House coffee. Really great. Carina, of course, has been covered by so many folk and blues artists in the 1960s. It's one of those songs. There's a handful of songs by some of these artists that kept on being recreated and covered, and bringing new audiences to these, and hopefully getting them money in terms of publishing things. But it was great that these labels, like these folk labels like Vanguard, and then the R&B labels like VJ, and of course Riverside, and jazz labels and soul stacks, were bringing these and signing these artists and putting out great records. I just love this record. This was recorded by the folk singer Patrick Skye, who produced this record, but it's just a wonderful record. Every track on it, really good. Next one. Now this one, I had no idea anything about it, and I got this one as a promo. And this is Blues and Ballads, Lonnie Johnson with Elmer Snowden. This is unbelievable. This is very different. This is an excellent recording too. When you get these vintage records, you don't know what to expect. But remember, a lot of these records were from the 60s, late 50s, 60s on up. I think they're going to do probably some into the 70s as well. We'll see. But the original Bluesville started in 59 and ended in 1966 originally. And so they only had, a 7-year lifespan. I think they put out just under 100 records all along. And I suppose Kraft now with Bluesville, with Chad Kassem and company, will be issuing some things with these other labels that are beyond what Bluesville put out and reissued in the 1980s as well. But this is one cool-ass record. Now, this one was recorded in 1960, and this is really good. This is wide stereo. There's a left and right of the electric and acoustic guitar on it. And it just has a really good vibe, almost a little bit of the songbook stuff. Even though not the songbook song-wise, as bluesy as it is, it gets into the pop, and I mean popular, going back from the 40s and 50s, not popular rock and roll music at all. But it's got a great sound. This is probably the best sounding any record in the series. And if you're one that really wants just good sound, while you're watching this show, it's the music, stupid, right? But seriously, this is an incredible record. And this is one under the radar, because I don't know if I would have picked it up, because I didn't know anything about it. I like to take chances, and I am trusting the curation of Kraft and the Bluesville people and Chad Kassem on this, because this is an excellent, look at that beautiful cover, right? So good. Blues and Ballads, Lonnie Johnson and Elmer Snowden right there on Bluesville series. Now another one, I mean, all these are great. I mean, I'm getting excited here, because we're talking about the blues. We got turned on. It's so bizarre that a lot of my generation got turned on to blues mostly by the English rock bands, aside from the folk artists, American folk artists. But I'm Jimmy Reed. This is a bunch of singles between 1953 and 1957 compiled on an album for VJ Records. This is excellent. This is kind of slow electric blues with I guess it's a quartet, right? Harmonica playing, it's soul and sultry and funky, and sexy, really. This is groovy in that kind of slow bluesy thing. If you ever played in a band, you always want to do slow blues, fast blues, medium blues, but when you get that slow blues and that just kicker sound. Now, of course, you listen to this, and if you don't know this artist or this music, you've heard this styling, especially from the Rolling Stones. I mean, the other blues bands as well, but the Rolling Stones nailed it to a point and really brought it forth. Even on their Exile on Main Street album as well, not just their early 60s records. Rolling Stones were so into Jimmy Reed, and this is a great, great record. There is an album that's worth checking out, and I think it has been reissued. I don't know if Kraft has, I guess they would have the rights to it because VJ, but it's Jimmy Reed, Carnegie Hall. But the funny thing is, it's not a live recording at Carnegie Hall. It's not alive. It's not live. But check it out anyway. Another of my favorites, again, the whole San Francisco scene got me into Blind Gary Davis, Harlem Street Singer, because on here is Samson and Delilah, which everyone from Jerry Garcia to a lot of other artists covered that under different names of the song. Pure Religion, Death Don't Have No Mercy, Trying to Get Home. This is a recording from 1960 as well. This one was recorded by Rudy Van Gelder. He was doing a lot of work for Prestige at the time in 1960. And this is a country blues record. He was around the Bay Area a lot. I never got to see him, but he was playing around, and it's just him, guitar, and vocals. And this is Harlem Street Singer, an incredible country blues record. I adore this one as well. I'm adoring all these, aren't I? Now, this one is not from the Bluesville series, but it's from Kraft. And this was a couple years ago, the exclusive limited edition translucent red vinyl for independent record stores. John Lee Hooker, Burnin'. They've done various John Lee Hooker albums. I know there was one that I do not have. I need to get, and to remedy that, get it, is another John Lee Hooker album with a fire on the cover. I forgot the name of it. But this is one. So it's in that series. So I don't know if they're going to put these out as Bluesville, etc. Maybe a mono version. Obviously, this is the VJ label. A lot of you Beatle freaks will recognize that label. VG, made a lot of money for a very short time, for about 6-8 months, introducing the Beatles and various versions of it. But a wonderful, wonderful record. I mean, John Lee Hooker is a killer artist. Lived in the Bay Area for years. I saw him many, many times. I actually spent an entire day with him, with one of my photographers, shooting a whole series of PR and magazine photos. And it was him and his driver. Lived down in Redwood City, and he came to San Francisco for the photo shoot. I think it was around the time it was just opening the Boom Boom Room, a club right across Geary Boulevard from the Fillmore Auditorium, and still exists to this day, but unfortunately he's gone. But Boom Boom, one of his classic songs on here. And it's just a great record. He's got a certain style that I think every record collector into the blues needs at least one or two John Lee Hooker records. But I will suggest this with this electric thing, but then for something completely different, and almost maybe even my favorite of these, is the country blues of John Lee Hooker. Now, this is not a Bluesville, but this is a Kraft issue from several years ago. I believe this is still available. If not, I'm sure it'll be repressed every once in a while. This is really good. Now, this is one of those records that a lot of these blues artists, even the ones doing electric guitar work in the 50s, and were convinced by their record companies to do sort of acoustic blues, folk blues, because of the folk revival in the late 50s, early 60s. We know Muddy Water, folk singer. That's exactly because of that, pushing these blues artists to cross over to that audience. And this is one of those wonderful, wonderful records. Recorded in Detroit, Michigan, 1959, accompanying himself on guitar. A wonderful country record, not really from the Bluesville branded series, but it fits within this catalog that Kraft's putting out. Now, I know I've showcased this before, and this is definitely a Bluesville record, and this is Albert King Live Wire Blues Power. I have an original copy of this. This is an incredible fucking record. I adore this record. When I was in high school, every Friday, my English teacher would dim the lights, play a record, and make us feel a piece of fruit and write about the experience. The Animals, I remember that one with the one with Sky Pilot, I think it's the one. But anyway, this was one of them, and I went out and bought it. So I have my original copy of this, but I tell you, this is better. It's fuller because of the new mastering, because they're not worried about records jumping off. But this is live at the Fillmore, and when I first heard the opening on here, his version of Watermelon Man, recording at the Fillmore Auditorium, or Blues Power, I'm thinking, this is Blues Power, and the audience reacts to him. There's such a powerful beauty in this record, and it's an electric record that would fit right in with them opening up or playing with the Grateful Dead or the Jefferson Airplane or Quicksilver or any of the bands coming through San Francisco and playing the Fillmore and the ballrooms in the late 60s. This is such a good record. I can't emphasize how great this record is. But this is the electric blues. So if you're a rock fan and you don't want to get into that folky country thing, I get it. This is for you. This is one. And because of this, Albert King, now this is also a craft. This is a record that I have, not an original, but I have like a 70s press of this. But I did buy this craft issue. This was a mono edition. Oh, this was a record store day edition. So now I have a stereo and a mono version of this. Born Under a Bad Sign, another song that Cream brought to my generation that we may not have heard. But this album, this is from 1967. This is such a good record, and I probably got it or heard it first in around 69 or 70 and then bought it in the early 70s finally. And I don't know if they're going to do any of these on Bluesville because this continually comes in print. Maybe they'll do a stereo one, maybe they have, and I just don't know it. But this is a killer record. Born Under a Bad Sign, that great version by Jack Bruce singing that with Cream. You got The Hunter, the Booker T. Jones penned song, done by so many people. Didn't Ike and Tina Turner probably did that? A lot of people. The Hunter, what a great piece of music. I just love this. Kansas City, of course, the standard. Anyway, Albert King, two great Albert Kings in a row. Both great for different reasons. Live things adds to it. Now, that's it in terms of these OJCs that are coming out now in the craft that have come out in the last few years. But I'm going to close out with two records that I have from OBC, I should say, not OJC. Two records that I got in the 1980s. And one is Sonny Story, Sonny Terry. I got turned on to Sonny Terry and Brennan McGee probably in the early 70s because of people like Ry Cooder. Every time I say Ry Cooder, people take a shot, apparently, I've heard. But Sonny Terry and Brownie Gee's album on A&M Records, the 72, 73 record, is really good. But harmonica player half. These two didn't get along. They hardly talked to each other. But this is his solo record that was on Prestige. This is a wonderful, wonderful record, and I hope this is one that they add to the Bluesville series now. I would love to have an updated version of this. And finally, this one has to come out for a lot of reasons. Even though it's branded here, Original Jazz Classic, OBC, I should say. Again, that B is important because the B is blues, the J is jazz. This is Pink Anderson. Pink Anderson, Volume 1, Carolina Bluesman. Carolina Bluesman. Now, aside from the great music of this record, Pink Anderson, guitar and vocals only, solo artist. The thing that's going to mean something to some of you, that Pink Anderson is half of the Pink Floyd name. Syd Barrett took Pink Anderson and another Bluesmen Floyd Council and put together the name Pink Floyd for the band. So if nothing else, if you're a Pink Floyd collector, you need this record. And Kraft, I'm talking to you. Chad, I'm talking to you. Add this to the list if you haven't already. And let me know. I love this record, and I think this would be a wonderful Bluesville issue. And it's an important record here. He died in 1973, so at least he lived to know about Pink Floyd. He died the year Dark Side of the Moon came out. Wow, didn't realize that. That's the blues. That's the blues from Kraft, Bluesville, Acoustic Sounds, Analog Productions, I should say, and Chad Kassem. And good job. Great music. It's the music, right? That's what it's about. But why not have the music sound good if you can? And this is, again, one of those reissue series that we need to shine a light on more than ever. Great American music and great versions of these classic records. Thanks again for watching. Mazzy loves you.